Since we have informed the stock exchange yesterday evening that we will be increasing prices across the models, largely because of the input costs going up, and the input costs are related to other costs as well as mainly the material cost, which includes steel and precious metals like rhodium, palladium, etc. So I think because of those extreme pressures on costs, we have no choice but to partly pass on that burden to the consumers. The exact quantum we haven't yet decided, but we are working on it very closely. In a few days' time, we will let you know.
So at one point of time during, after the festive season and during, December, one always used to wait for discounts. So you're basically saying it's a goodbye to discounts and one should be bracing for price hikes. Having said that, you've also undertaken a whole host of other measures as well in a bid to ensure that the demand keeps along the same level. Help us understand, does it really now mean that there will be no more discounts as far as Maruti Suzuki is concerned, and consumers should brace for higher prices as they come into the next year?
Actually, the discounts which we are talking about, which normally happen in December, are a little different this time, and they are on the much lower levels. And I can explain you why it is so. So unlike the previous years, where you have had starting of December with high levels of stock in the industry, that is not the case this year. This year, in that sense, has been extremely unusual, starting with Q1 when there was hardly any sale because of the extreme hard lockdown that we had seen. And then as we went along the situation, there was a lot of pent-up demand which came through, and it was always the supply which was chasing the demand. As a result, the beginning of December, we have seen in the industry, the stock levels are pretty low. In fact, if you look at the retails of November, in the industry, estimated retails were 330,000. And the stock at the end of November, estimated in the industry, is about 166 or 167,000, which means roughly about 15 days of stock. Now, that is actually quite low by industry standards. The long-term standards hover somewhere around 30 days of stock. So this year has been unusual. The beginning of December, stocks of 166, 168,000 in the industry. As against, if you compare with the previous year, let's say December beginning of 2019, the stock levels in the industry were estimated close to 290,000. So as such, there is discount levels that you see are obviously a function of geographies, of various brands and various models, but also about the demand supply mismatches. So this year it's going to be a little different, and that's why you see in December in response to the lower stock levels in the industry and the lower expected availability, we have seen the discount levels to be much lower across all manufacturers.
Right. Talk to us about the kind of demand that you've seen post the festive season. October, November seem to be good months as far as Maruti Suzuki is concerned. What about the month of December? Where do things stand as far as up until now we were saying that there was pent-up demand, but what is the current situation looking like?
Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting question, and rather than looking at December, we must look at the post-Diwali period. That is when the festive season stops. So the festive season actually got over on 16th of November. The good point for the industry is that while the industry was expecting that post the festive season, the demand will come down substantially, but it like it did last year or even the previous year. However, what we have seen post the festive season is that while the demand has come down, but it has come down marginally. So the drop has been much less than what was expected. And that's a good sign because this gives you a good, the inquiries and the bookings that we see post the festive season have been pretty good. Although, of course, smaller than the ones which we saw during the festive season. But it's still good. So I think that is what makes manufacturers confident about December.
Do you believe that, given the fact that the year 2020 was the one where we did see a lot of blips, even and a lot of speed bumps for the auto sector, 2021 is going to be a one which is going to be more hopeful?
Yes, in balance, I think we have said this before also, that 2020 actually starting from mid of March, when you had an absolute lockdown till about the halfway through May, there was zero sales in the industry. So in that sense, obviously things can be better. However, still the extent of how better they would be is still a question mark, and that's the reason why manufacturers across the Indian auto industry are a little hesitant and apprehensive about giving forward guidance on the demand, is because the steady state demand would obviously depend on the fundamentals of economy. There is a high correlation between auto industry demand and the GDP per capita income growth. So that, along with the COVID sentiment, are the two uncertainties which is forcing manufacturers to be a little hesitant to give forward guidance for the next year.
In terms of rural demand, how are things shaping up as far as the Indian economy is concerned? We're seeing how the agriculture sector, the rural sector seems to be the bright spot, but what about the auto industry?
Yeah, so I think the directionally in auto industry also we see the similar trend. We did see actually in Q2 and even in Q3 partly the bounce back in the rural sector being much better than the urban areas. And of course, we have gone through this before. There are reasons for it. This time we have had a fairly widespread and a wonderful monsoon, up about 8 or 9% over last year. We have had record Rabi crops, 151 million tons as against 145 last year. We have a Kharif sowing, which is about 8.5% more than last year. So expectedly, on the agricultural income front, there's going to be a much better situation in the rural areas, and that reflects in the sentiments. Besides, the COVID thing has probably the sentiment has been affected much more in urban areas. Considering containment zones, red spot areas have been mostly in the urban areas. So I think the bounce back for rural has been expected. For Maruti Suzuki, also we have seen that of the total portfolio that we have, about 38% was rural last year, but this year it is just about 40%. So that reflects that the urban areas have been going less than the rural areas. Having said that, I must add, in the last couple of months, we have seen a good bounce back in the urban areas as well.